This is referential treatment.
What am I saying?
We're gonna go with
Season 2. Undefined and unrefined.
a little defined.
A little refined. Season 2's kind of got a self-explanation.
What did we say next? Like, comment, subscribe. We don't care. Do we care?
No. We still cuss. And it still died like Season 2.
Turn that Wakandan shit off in my house.
Why does it sound so racist? Because Wakanda's not real, but still.
I know. It's the white guilt in your soul.
I don't know, maybe.
I have no problems talking about Wakanda.
The tone of voice you said it in. Like a metaphor.
Well, that's because a lot of people perceive racism from intent, I guess.
Yeah. I can say, like, you look great. But if I say it mad enough, doesn't sound like I'm actually saying you look great.
It's one of those, it's just like, yeah, those people over there. Those people over there.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good point.
inflection.
Yeah. The inflection of it.
You can even do it with people. Those people.
Those people. The poor. Hey, here's a question. I got asked like a couple of days ago because I was explaining to someone how I hate fat people.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's awful.
Discriminatory.
Maybe.
You discriminate against fat people.
See, I think discrimination is taking action.
No, let me boil it down. I have the perfect scenario to know whether you discriminate against a group every time.
Ask away.
You were a boss
Uh-huh.
of some establishment. I don't give a shit where you pick.
Blockbuster.
You are the manager of Blockbuster.
Yes.
You are interviewing people for someone at the counter.
Uh-huh.
2 people come in.
Uh-huh.
One, surprisingly boring. Nothing special about them. Nothing really redeeming. The second person
Are
comes
they
in.
fat?
No,
Okay,
normal.
okay, cool,
Normal.
cool.
The second person is fat, a little bit more qualified. They've worked retail before, and they seem to have a little bit happier attitude. Do you still pick the boring guy?
No. Because I know that I have a predisposed inclination against fat people.
You have a bias.
It's a known bias I have, so I have the ability to remove it in the appropriate scenarios. But I will still have the opinion that fat person should not be fat.
So that's not discrimination. You just have
Yeah,
a bias.
I wouldn't take it out on anything.
You have a prejudice against fat people.
I just don't like fat people.
That's a prejudice.
Okay, then yeah.
It's fine. We've had this discussion
think
before. I think prejudice are fine. Discrimination is what should be illegal.
Someone said
You can't make someone like you. That's
Yeah.
That's damn near mind control, and it's more like, I don't know. Like if you want to talk about freedoms, then yeah, someone should have the freedom not to like you.
when I was telling this person about that, they said that's the same as like hating black people. It's like, wait,
Fat
no,
people
no,
isn't a
it's not.
race.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
you don't make a
it's
choice
not.
to be black unless you're like getting melanin inserted into your skin.
Yeah,
like
like,
that
no
one
one's-
chick from the NAACP.
Like no one's born fat and is destined to be fat.
Unless you have a thyroid issue, then yeah.
Unless
actually,
yeah, I mean even that
medical things.
Even that, once
excluded.
I know that, I go, oh, okay, well I hate them less
Yeah.
because it's beyond their control.
Yeah.
But if it's not, shame on you.
Like if it was a decision to become fat.
Or just a lack of decisions along the way to not be fat.
No, it's always. I wouldn't say it's a lack of decision. It's never like you make the choice to stay inside.
That's
I
what-
know
yeah,
because
that's
I
what I
was
meant.
once
That's what I meant.
fat, and you still make the choice of what you put in your body. Unless someone's literally holding you down, like, no, we're eating this. Like being a child, it's a little different.
It
Whatever's
is.
in the fridge, like you could say something to your parents because that's
Yeah.
It's not. So yes, it is genetic, as in weight
A
gain.
predisposition.
Someone's got it down to the fact that if your father is
Is fat.
obese at the moment of conception, you already
Yeah.
have the fat gene. But then some of it is habitual in the sense that if you don't know what is, like, when do you stop eating? We've had this discussion before. You asked me, you're like, when do I stop eating? And I give the obvious answer of until I'm miserable.
That's
But-
awful. How is that an answer?
But that it's habitual because if you don't know where norm is, that's just your everyday. Because I was raised in an environment where like you eat as much as you want,
You eat until you
but
lose
then the reverse side of that is my dad experienced famine in Cuba.
Yeah.
So for you to be able to eat whatever you want whenever you want is a big deal of freedom to him.
Yeah, but now it's like off center. So you know the whole centrality thing? It's a snapback from being in a famine. So like you don't get to eat enough. So when you come back, you do have the option. You may eat too much.
Yes.
And yes, there's a cost
Yeah.
for it. You have a snapback there. But then, like, say you're the son of that person, and you're on this side of it now, which is just as bad as being on the other side of it now. like eating too much is just as bad as eating too little. You just need to be in the middle of like either right amount.
I agree, but you have to understand, as someone with neither of those inclination or genetic factors or environmental, like, it's easy for you to say, yeah, just pull yourself up from your bootstraps, man. Like,
Because I didn't have to.
Because I didn't have to every time. So
Yeah, no, that's I definitely know that too. That's not lost on me.
yeah, because someone going by was like, well, just don't let being off center not bother you, and you're like, I can't. My entire fiber of my being.
Yeah, and I have
So
things.
it's the same thing.
I think everyone has their own little things that like they're off center about that are very difficult for them to move.
Yeah.
But other things where it's easier for them.
Mhm.
Like for like the way I am with negative emotions, I think, oh, that's a useless dumb emotion. Get rid of it. Like don't keep it. It's dumb.
Except for
But
your
some
feeling
people
for
can't
Kill la
do
Kill.
What?
Except for your feelings for Kill la
It's
Kill.
not a negative emotion. It's a positive, great thing. It's a beautiful feeling.
They can feel the same about eating too much.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
You're
Yes,
yucking other people's yums.
if your yum is too much yum, I yuck you. Get yucked. You yuck.
Get yucked, son.
Get yucked, son. You're gross.
It's starting out great.
You're gross. No, I just don't like fat people. Never have. Never will. I don't think that's ever going to change.
You don't have
either.
to, yeah.
I don't think anything's ever going to change it.
Once again, I think it's okay for people to have prejudice.
I don't hate fat kids. I hate fat kids' parents.
Parents.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is that could be a cyclical thing.
Yeah. Fat people have fat kids.
In fact, it very much is in this country. And, like, the fact that people are like, gun control. Kids got shot up in a school. This stops now. This is the last one. Great incentive. Great. We still have more heart disease death than anyone else. It's the number one killer. The number one, and we're not like, okay, McDonald's, you gotta tone it down. That's never, other than they're like, hey, we can't have supersizes, but
Like
that wasn't even at the height. That
Ronald's
was
killed more
years
kids.
ago. Off the news and sensationalism. But yeah, McDonald's kills more kids.
Yeah. But it's whatever the public's focusing on at the moment.
Well, it's not just that.
It's
also
like riding that rage. Like, how can I use that to my advantage in this way?
No.
I can ride
Think
that.
of the blanket number of people you're covering. If you're saying, hey, reduce or make gun policy more stringent, you're affecting only people who are pro-gun. Versus, think of how many people eat fucking fast food.
Well,
One's way more on the popular side of the decision, and the other one, like, because the whole thing is, unless you're certain religions that won't eat beef,
yeah.
think of the number of people who will walk into a McDonald's versus the number of people who will walk into a gun store.
Yes, yeah, but I think that a gun control change or law does affect more than just people who are pro-gun. Because there's plenty of people who are, like, not anti-gun, but, you know, they're okay with more gun control that own guns. Or there are people that don't personally want a gun, but are okay with gun laws being loose. Because they think that makes them safer. So I don't think it's purely people who want or own guns that are going to be affected by these decisions. It's going to be everybody.
It's predominantly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The ones, yeah,
And
of course. And the
even
ones that
saying
spoke out about
everybody,
it, yeah.
that's even a little lax. Because the number of registered gun owners in an area would stagger you if you would. Because everyone just thinks, like, oh, yeah, probably, like, maybe 1 in 10 people have
No,
a gun.
that's a lot more.
And not only that, but it's the fact that we have that many people with guns. And, yeah, people are just like, oh, 18 shootings, what was it, in February? We're like, by February? And I was like, well, think of how many people are in America.
Could do shootings.
It's 320 million people. So out of 320 million people, the ones that had guns and then went on a shooting, yes, that's terrible. But I'm just like...
Relatively, it's a very low statistic.
Yeah, it's compared to the number of people who went hunting and didn't kill anyone. And if you're saying, like, well, what are the numbers for those? Look how many hunting licenses are registered, and then look how many of those... And because these numbers get reported. Like, a state has to keeps track of how many hunting licenses they let out because they have to keep track of the population and how many to issue the next year.
Yeah.
So this is a running tally you can consistently check the numbers on. And this is me, like, unbiased, like, neither pro-gun or anti-gun.
Yeah, I don't think
But I'm just saying, it was
feel
like, hey,
strongly
if we're going to have a
about it.
conversation about, like, we need what informed numbers, then what are the facts?
Uh-huh.
How can we track these facts? Where are you getting your numbers from? And then instead of just making an emotional argument, which you're seeing a lot of on C-SPAN right now, people getting out very passionate, and they're like, the news obviously is just like, we need to show the kids. And then they came out with like, we will not be silenced. It's like, well, I don't think they're trying to silence you. They just have a different opinion from you.
So to counterpoint, or a counterexample, would be Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Australia had one mass shooting.
Yep.
And they just got rid of guns. They
Yeah.
said, no, guns no.
They have stabbings.
No, that's stabbings, yeah. It's been replaced, of course.
Yeah.
But
And then
that's the statistic of
that's a
gun
different argument if you're going
shootings.
ethical. It's like, well, should we limit the maximum number of the people they can kill? And then there's even a ridiculous scenario that it's very cherry picked though. In China, a man stabbed like 100 people in a bus. It's China.
In one bus. It was one bus.
It wasn't. Sorry, not a bus. It was a train. He went from cart to cart, and he just like ran and stabbed. But that's like the perfect example of you have one of the most populated areas of the planet, and then you have one crazy guy with a knife in a straight line. Like he's literally just got a running cut, and he killed like 18 people or something. God,
that's awful.
It is, but I'm just saying like.
But do you like ban knives?
Yeah.
Do you limit the length of knives at that point?
We do.
Because retroactively that won't.
We do. In fact, last I checked, knives aren't allowed on buses or trains or anything else. But it wouldn't stop me from bringing one. And then that's where you get into the whole like, well, you can't control people, which is true.
Yeah.
It's just there has to get to a
they're going to
point
find a way.
when you say these are our Bill of Rights and they cannot be eroded, which I have something else on. But if you say these are our Bill of Rights, it can't be changed, cannot be eroded, you are gonna have to accept some backlash from that too, or some negative aspects of being that free. It's either you accept that power that you've placed, because there's a great quote on Samuel Colt. I'm trying to remember. It's just like, God made every man equal, or God didn't make every man equal. Samuel Colt did.
Oh yeah,
but no, I think it's a very accurate quote in that what do guns do? So it allows someone who previously we had to rely on physical combat or your skill with a weapon of some kind. Not that a gun isn't a weapon, but it's just a much more effective one that you could literally give it to a child and he can kill a trained grown man. And there's not much like, yeah, you can jump, cover, hope their aim's not great. But just the level of shit you have to do not to die in that scenario compared to what they have to do to effectively kill you.
It's a lot harder for a toddler to stab you to death than it is for them to shoot you on accident.
Yeah. Or themselves.
Yeah, one of them.
So, because when it's like, oh, can they pick up the knife, and then can they swing it with enough force?
I commonly think about
the gun is just like you just got to pull the trigger and aim.
Yeah, not even really aim, just if it's a right angle already.
Well, even then a straight bullet, because the whole thing is you don't have like a stray knife just flopping around off walls.
I don't pick it up and go, whoa! It doesn't like get away from me ever.
Or if I throw a knife, like it's gonna fall like 15 feet away from me.
Don't you hate it when you cut a potato and your knife pings off the plate and goes off somewhere else? Bing! Oh shit!
Goes through your window and kills your neighbor.
Sorry. Accidental knife charge.
These Japanese knives, the best quality until they get away from you.
You get arrested for accidental discharge. Of a knife. Whoa!
But yeah, it's just the capability that you have there. So with enhanced capability, just like everything else, even communication, even what we're doing right now. Like if you wanted to start a Nazi podcast or like a neo-Nazi podcast, pro-hate, pro-race war.
That's not what this is?
No.
Oh.
We're both wearing white.
I take back what I said about fat people.
I'm still brown.
Oh, sorry.
But the point is, with enhanced capability, you have to understand that a public capability, that capability extends to bad people as well as good people.
Yeah.
And given the fact of the large population we have, because Joe Rogan has this really great example of 320 million people in America. And imagine you're in a room with 100 people. What are the odds, like how many assholes do you think you have in a room with 100 people?
100.
So
dumb question.
In your equation, how many of those assholes do you think are 320 million assholes? But we're talking about like for America, like if you were to test the room.
Oh, okay.
Like how many out of that room, how many do you think of those people can be trusted with guns?
Oh.
Out of 100 people.
Maybe like 25.
So you think 75 of those people shouldn't be trusted with a firearm?
Not necessarily not trusted with one, but I wouldn't be confident that there would be people with experience with a firearm or comfort with a firearm that, like, if I had to throw a number out, I'd say probably 25 out of 100 would have either experience or comfort, or hopefully both, with a firearm.
Yeah. Now, we live in a country where we allow all of them to try. Not all of them, but a larger percentage.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's a good amount of gun control as it is.
Yeah.
But I'd never try to buy a gun, though, which
I love
is weird because I technically have a gun.
This one really great meme where it's like Hillary Clinton saying, like, we need to ban automatic rifles. And it's that one worn out meme where he's like, they're banned. They're so far banned. We can't ban them any further.
They've been banned. Okay, except there's no automatic ones. They're just
semi-automatic.
They're semi-automatic and single but fast.
So here's the thing: saying there's no automatic one isn't correct either.
Because you can like fake it. You can like buy a semi-auto and
you can modify. But then it was like, what are you gonna do? Outlaw gunsmithing? Like
I mean, yeah, I guess if you make it illegal, then it's the same thing as if a drug is illegal. Like, you can't afford to go hunt down every ounce of a drug in the country. Mm-hmm. But
you're making
it's
a
just
lot of
something
criminals.
you make a lot of criminals.
Organically or inorganically control, like, because the law is man-made.
Well, it's just like driving without your license.
Yeah.
Like, it's not illegal until you get pulled over.
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
It's the same scenario. Like, it's not, if an automatic rifle is illegal, and you have one that you've modified and made yourself, it's only legal, quote unquote, until you get caught with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just have a rifle.
I showed you Black Jesus. He has the marble shooter. Remember that?
No.
Oh, God, Black Jesus is great. I'm pretty sure I showed you that show.
I don't remember.
Oh. One dude's out on, he's not on bail. He's on parole. So he's not supposed to have a firearm because it's a crime. So he modifies it's like a lead pipe.
Yeah.
And then he has a compressed CO2 behind it, and it just shoots a marble. And at one point, they're holding up one dude. And by the way, the receiver for the firearm, like the actual grip, is a broken phone receiver. It's just like half of it. So he's got this janky thing, and he's
So it's
like,
all, like,
pointing up
homemade.
to someone's head. You want to take a marble to the dome? And the guy he's like holding up is like, marble? What?
Is that your slag? We call it that now? Oh, God. Don't kill me. I don't know.
Please, just take my jacks.
That's one of those things like I've never done a drug, not because I didn't have the opportunity, and not because they're legal, because there's never had the desire to. Like, I've never owned an automatic rifle, not because I couldn't,
Yeah.
just because I never had the desire
See,
to.
that's the strange thing about democracy. So you have people who have, like, genuinely no stake in your affair. Like, I am not a woman, so abortion means very little to me. Unless it's like, but even then, I guess I would be a little bit more on the pro-choice side. I'm like, yeah, I feel like you should pick because not because it's like grand scheme of motherhood, and I think, oh, her body and everything. I'm like, being me, still having no stake in the game, really. The other person who probably cares more should pick.
You could probably take a basic amount of empathy in that scenario and think, well, if it was my womb, I'd like the option.
Yeah, but I'm not capable of taking that much empathy. That's like too much pretend time for me.
Well, if it was my testicles, I'd like the options. Just for the amount of empathy you can get.
I did kind of play the if it's my testicles game. My girlfriend wanted me to get my dog's balls cut off, but he's like 8, so I'm like, I feel like he's pretty attached to him by now. Her dog's 2. her dog's 2. I'm like, his balls sag and everything. That's the point where you shouldn't be able to cut them. When they got a little bit more
only
length
fresh
to
balls is what you're saying?
Yeah, only fresh. Because there's like just getting used to it. He's got like emotional time with his balls now.
He's got something to miss. He's got memories to reflect
exactly, but the whole thing is like if he's a young enough puppy for her dog, he's not really going to remember what it's like to have balls, or he's not going to notice the dip in energy because he was a puppy when it got done. So he's just a eunuch. He's a eunuch dog now. He's actually oversized. I'm like, it's because you cut his balls too early. Because growth plates don't shut because testosterone is what triggers that. Yeah, eunuchs were tall. Not only did they sound really weird, but they were also really tall. Usually overweight because they didn't have muscle tone.
There's a word for that. It's not falsetto, but it's like another layer of falsetto above that they can accomplish.
There's a really eerie recordings of them singing on YouTube. I can't think it's pretty much a genre.
I can hear the word.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's above soprano.
Oh, it's soprano tenor.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But yeah. So she was like, "You should get your dog's balls cut because he's humping my friend's dog, and she doesn't want to come over without her dog." And instantly, I'm thinking, like, "Well, your friends suck."
Yeah, your friend is costing a pair of balls.
My dog's balls. Yeah.
Yeah, my dog's balls. If your friendship cost my dog's balls, I know that friendship.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking the whole time, I was like, how does he feel about it? How would I feel about it if I was him? I'm like, no one's taking my balls from me. It became a very much like, that was the moment.
I would defend those balls.
Yeah, that was the moment I understood abortion.
I will die on this hill. Those dogs' balls shall be rain.
Well, no, because she has like this really strange mentality in that dogs are cute things. Because she has this like a small dog. My dog's a small dog. And she's always comments on how adorable they are. She gets them little outfits, which is fine.
Like a toy?
Because like for a pet, yeah, it seems more like a toy thing. I'm like, no, this is a living creature. Because they got my dog like a girlfriend dog. He's sterile, so there's no like we're not putting like infinite litters of puppies out there. No puppies are going straight to a puppy mill or any of that. So it's just my dog you know, doing the natural Discovery Channel thing and relieving some stress, which is good for your dog. It makes them like less. I guess animals get sexually frustrated too. I would bet animals would get sexually frustrated.
I mean, we do, so I'd say
Yeah, and I consider us animals, so you know,
we are.
we are. Don't believe me? Check your genome out.
Yeah, you are 99.96% chimp or some shit.
No, bonobo. Chimp is a
Bonobo.
Yeah, don't use chimp. Other than that, yeah, I think that was like the biggest thing that triggered me recently. Just like, no, leave this ball alone.
You have like a personal experience to reflect on when it comes to that, so you can empathize because you've not directly, but had some sort of experience where you had to make a decision like that. So
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
You can understand the portion.
No, not really.
You can go march with them and say, "I kept my dog's balls."
Where's my march? God damn
And
it!
they go, "Who said what?"
His body, his
Are
choice.
you saying we have to keep the baby, or it's our choice to keep the balls or separate the balls? What's going on? Who are you?
Oh God!
Rethink your signing.
Can you imagine if I had to have a custody battle for my dog's balls?
You have the documents showing on the dog's balls.
I hope this is the one discussion that triggers someone, and we finally get an angry email. It hasn't happened yet.
I mean, if it's like this ultra conservative, like they don't get a choice person, come on.
It's someone with guilt who chopped their dog's balls
I don't
off.
know. Maybe it's a dog who had their balls chopped off. Balls. Can we get away from balls? We can talk about
Yeah.
balls for a bit.
Talk about your new lady friend.
Has some strong implications in that, bud.
She is your friend, and she's a
She's
lady.
Yes, she's a lady.
You don't like me implying her gender because it's 2018?
It's 2018. Don't be flying anything, bud. No. Yeah.
You had something to talk about.
That was a weird
yesterday.
segue to it, though, because
Yeah.
it wasn't really about her. It was about rock climbing, actually.
Well, it's you know how Scott Pilgrim has that I have to go pee on her moment where he spins the wheel and he was deciding between I have to pee, I have to go talk to her, and it lands in the middle.
Yeah.
You were
I have to
like,
pee on her.
let's get away from balls, and I spun it and it landed right on like lady and friend, so I went with lady friend.
Explains a lot.
Yeah.
No, rock climbing. So I've been going outdoors a lot, like
Mm-hmm.
actually climbing outdoors, which is awesome, by the way. But it's a totally different experience. And the whole reason we're going is because my climb partner and I, we met someone who used to go a lot outdoors.
Climbing partner.
Yeah, literally a climb partner, nothing more. You know her. She's married.
know.
Yeah, you know who she is.
I'm just trying
I make it weird.
to load words for you.
Stop. Stop implying things. But no, this new friend, she used to go outdoor climbing with her partner, but her partner moved away. So like, I was like, oh, I heard that. I was like, oh, that sucks, bummer. Like, it sucks to lose your climb partner. And I've been wanting to go outdoors for a long time. So yeah, totally, let's go. Like, we'll do it. So we've been going to do that for a while now, a couple weekends. But that's really fun. But that doesn't really tangent into this. But at the rock gym, I've been sore for like 3 days because we did an exercise that I want to tell you about because I think it's going to entertain you. And we're calling it cards. And what you do is you get a deck of cards and you assign an exercise to each suit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's 1 through 13 for 1 through face cards, right?
Yeah.
Just like normal, like,
People do this in the gym.
is it a thing? It's a normal
It's
thing?
a thing.
where like you pull a card.
Oh yeah,
and you
yeah.
have to,
No, cardio guys love that shit.
Huh.
Cardio guys, CrossFit guys, and they're the main ones. Powerlifters don't do that. They do their own thing.
Yeah, it's fun. I liked it. It's a fun exercise. Actually, made me
Keeps the
sore
randomness
for 2 days.
going.
Yeah, I think I prefer random. Like
Yeah.
too much structure, I can't. I don't care anymore. I don't want to think about it.
So if you really learn to listen to your body, and then also like guys who are quote unquote bodybuilders, not the Instagram ones, if you look in the mirror, it does kind of become random because you don't know what to expect from your gains because it's just like, oh, I have developed more shoulder, but I'm missing rear shoulder. So in that sense, it does kind of become random. You look in the mirror.
You're reactive.
Yeah. So well, some
to the
guys are
results.
like when they're like, oh, look at that douchebag flexing the mirror. I was like, or he's checking to see what he needs next.
Makes sense.
Those guys look at it as a form where it's like I'm the statue and I'm putting clay on, and the clay comes through sculpting in the gym, and then you add on more mass to work with by eating, and that's really just I think the perfect analogy for it. They look at themselves.
What you're saying is, I am Adonis.
I'm saying that you could accidentally stare into a pool and die from looking at your reflection too long. So
I'm too strong to die like that. It wouldn't happen.
That's exactly what Narcissus would say.
Oh, yeah. So, on top of that, I've been having a really fun time.
On top of that.
Shut up with your implications. No. In addition to, like, going out to Jerusalem and having a great time with that, she's also a person that, like us, it's very easy to talk to and for a long time about, like, kind of in-depth topics.
I'm just waiting for you to tell me she's a lesbian.
She's not.
Oh.
God.
Married it is.
Not married. So, for the first time in like 5 in a row, not gay and not married. So, that's not a bad thing. If
I do have one piece of bad news for you though. She's not Ramona Flowers.
No, she's Knife Chap.
I have good news. The next one is Ramona Flowers.
Yeah, maybe. But where is it?
You're gonna date the Amazon girl that comes to your door knocks.
Oh my God! Stop. That's another topic for another day that we've already been on 10 times. I'll forever talk about. No, it's like our conversations. Like they're really good, really fun, really flow. The flows really well, so it's really fun to talk to her. And it's the way that like time just you stop paying attention to it and you stop thinking about it. It just goes and goes and goes and just don't pay attention, right? And so we went to Anna Miller's and I already talked about Anna Miller's, so I'm not gonna go over it, but it's just a weird place and like the waitresses wear maid outfits and it's just kind of weird.
Well, it's supposed to be Dutch. It's Dutch.
Is that what it
themed.
is?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why there's pies. They're Dutch pies.
Now it makes sense.
By the way, the pies are really good.
I don't like pie.
Don't eat the food there.
I don't
Eat
like
the
pie.
fucking pies.
I don't like pie.
Oh.
Yeah.
They have a
Also,
cheesecake pumpkin.
I figured out what it
love
is about that place that is slightly off-putting, and this is a very local thing, so... It's the outfits, they look like doll/child clothes.
That's what those outfits actually look like, though. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I know. But I was looking, I was like...
Dutch culture.
What is off-putting about this? Like, it's not the fact that they are wearing an outfit, because that's normal, like...
Yeah.
It's like any uniform.
Yeah.
So what is about this one? It's just like, this is weird. What is it? It doesn't look like human clothes. That's all it is.
Human clothes.
Human clothes, yeah. I think they are, but they just look weird. But,
That's how I feel about lederhosen.
So, I was having a conversation with her over lunch, and it was a really good conversation and really in-depth. And we got into talking about how I seem to be really carefree, and that's what I call it, carefree, but she calls it careless. And there's both right answers, because when we got back to as we're walking back to my car, I said, I've only locked myself out of my house/car twice. So I wouldn't call that a habit yet. You know, it's habit twice, but it's not a habit. She said,
well, the door guy knows you, so...
And she said, 2 points make a line. And I did tell a story about how the lock popping guy, he actually remembers me now. He's like, hey, how's it going? Like, we catch up. The reason I said that, though, is because I noticed I didn't have my keys in my pocket. Right, so there's a possibility. There's a couple possibilities of the outcome of this. So just
go back into Anna Miller's and check?
I checked, did everything. I checked inside, wasn't there. And I go, okay, something... My keys are probably in my car somewhere. Probably locked in it. So I've already accepted that. I'm pretty, it's okay. I carefree. It'll turn out fine, right?
You careless it, yeah.
Yeah, walking back to the car.
I thought I could sneak it in. Just like you.
And I get back to the car and I hear a noise as we're walking up. And I'm telling her, like, it's, it'd be fine. Like, everything turns out fine. It always does. I get back to my car and, like, watch. Then I open my door. Boom. It's unlocked. Like, see? It's fine. Because I left the car running while we were eating lunch. Keys in ignition, car on, in park, in neutral.
That is not a nice part of town. I want to comment on that. It's Pearl City. And Pearl City is one of, like, the places in Hawaii you could see a prostitute just, like, walking to the mall.
Like, if your car is going to get stolen, it's going to happen in Pearl City.
Probably, yeah.
It's likely.
Or, no, Waipahu.
And Waipahu. I left that shit running. I left it running. And it turned out fine. Like, I started laughing. I was like, this is really funny to me, because if it got stolen, it'd been a huge hassle, but thankfully it didn't get stolen, so...
Yeah.
What a great story now. How fun this is. And this has changed my opinion of you.
Yes.
And I said, well, let's be real. It's giving me a more realistic opinion of me. Things like this happen on occasion with me.
It's a very careless way to look at it.
And then I said, I'll admit, maybe it is a habit at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm a pretty carefree guy. Things work out, so.
Yeah, I feel like podcasting has kind of done that to us. Because we've
I
gone...
was like this before, though.
Huh?
I was like this before,
I think it's amplified it. Because I wasn't, and now I am.
How's that affected you, then?
Because we've gone to the point of just, like... nothing really matters, but it kind of gives you a free reign to do what you want.
And not freak out about things.
Yeah. Because, even if it's the worst thing that's happening in your life, number one, something worse is happening to someone else. Definitely. Guarantee you, every time.
Every time.
And even then, it's the worst thing you're probably dealing with that day. It's not the worst thing you've dealt with in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst thing that could have happened to you as you were born.
That's what I think. I always think, oh, this sucks. But something worse must be coming.
Me, I always think of like something worse has already happened.
Yeah. That's like I had a job once that was super duper hard. It was like a physical labor job, really difficult. And then ever since then, at the time it sucked. I was like, oh, this blows. I don't want to do this again. But then
No
after
prostitute?
that, every job, what? No. Every job after that point, it's been like, well, it ain't that job, so
Yeah.
pretty easy by comparison. Relatively, not that bad.
Is this your fence building story?
Yeah, it's that.
God
That's what
damn
it
it,
was.
dude.
Yeah.
Building a fence isn't that hard.
A buffalo fence is. It's a buffalo fence. It's for buffalo. We didn't have buffalo.
We have horses and we put up one. It wasn't that bad.
Buffalo fence held back the horses too.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I've put up one before. It's not that bad. There's worse things you can do out there.
I mean, yeah, of course. Yes, naturally. But relative to my experience,
Okay,
that was
yeah.
the most difficult physical labor job I've done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, ever since, relatively to that comparison, every job I've had since has not been difficult.
Did you read Where the Red Fern Grows?
Hmm?
That chapter where he trees his first coon, and I don't mean black person if someone wants to get all racisty. Racist? I don't know. If they're declaring that I'm being racist, I don't know what that is. He trees his first coon, and he's committed to getting this raccoon because he feels if he gives up here, he'll give up elsewhere. And it's kind of like an overall like meta message for the book. And he was given an axe, I believe, by his grandfather. Or at some point, his grandfather goes to check on him, and he says something along the lines of, every boy should have a tree they have to cut down in their life. Because it was something like in between swings. He was only like halfway there. It was like a thick... He still got a lot more to go. And the grandfather sees it, and he like brought him food or whatever. So that he's just like, yeah, you're going to do this. And it's important that you do. In fact, I wish more people had to struggle at some point. Because he's like, after this, you're going to be really proud.
Yeah.
So...
And next time you know how hard it is to cut down a tree and how easy it is to not cut down trees.
Yeah, and I'll let you know that setting up a microphone with an $11 mic, a recording setup, much more difficult than chopping down a tree.
I'll say, it was hard to sit here. It was difficult for me. I had a hard time.
Oh, God.
It
For
was
the people who don't know, we struggled with our audio for like 2 days.
2 days. Yeah.
2 days.
And
then we went back to the first
nothing's
thing we
really
did.
changed.
Yeah.
We didn't affect anything.
Yeah.
Like 2 days of effort, and all we did was split the audio into two so we could both listen.
Oh, it's like this podcast.
It's all a metaphor. This is our old yeller.
Redford Grows, not Old Yeller.
Oh yeah, I always get them confused because
Dogs in books, I get it. They're classics.
gotta kill them. I get those two confused because when I was in school, they made us read them back to back.
Oh.
It's like, oh, sad story, right? How about this one?
I knew Old Dan was going to die whenever he was named Old and the girl was named Lil.
Who was?
It's Little Ann and Old Dan. I'm like, oh, Old Dan's dead right there.
Sorry, old Dan, I've written you off already. Your death's coming, I have to see.
Did you ever see like hardcore foreshadowing in a story and it ruins the rest of the series or movie for you?
I wouldn't say it ruins it, because that comes down to how good the author is, if it's a book, or how good the creator is in general.
Yeah.
Like, the same way I don't get bothered if I know the spoilers for something. Because it
care about
should
how it
come
plays
down
out?
to, how good was everything else done.
Execution.
Yes, execution is more important to me than the result, I guess. So, like I know what happens for most of Super because you told me.
Yeah.
But I'll watch it anyways because it's executed well.
Do you know it has a really great execution? Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
I want to watch it so bad.
We need to.
I also want to watch that Jared Leto movie on Netflix that everyone's mad about.
I don't know why they're mad.
I don't know either. I don't even know what it's called.
I think people are just tired of Jared Leto's
I can't
face.
think of the title. I'm tired of Jared Leto's face.
Not as much as Jared Leto is.
I don't know.
No, he redeemed himself in fucking Blade Runner.
Yeah, no, he did. He
That was
did it.
great.
I mean, of all the performances, his wasn't my favorite performance for sure, but it also wasn't bad. Like,
Yours was probably like the
distract.
AI robot girl.
Who?
The robot girlfriend he has.
Oh, yeah. See, hers was really good too. Hers is up there. But I don't know.
You just got some Jared Leto hate in your heart.
I think. Well, that's hard to say because Ryan Gosling.
Jared Leto isn't fat. He's shredded, so I know it's not that.
Yeah, don't hate him for being fat. That's for sure.
You must just. Your least favorite person is like the guy from Lost.
Kind of, yeah. Like super nice,
Yeah.
jolly dude.
Yeah. Not that
He's fat.
useful, but
Yeah.
he's fat. That's his
And
thing.
like that's his biggest
his
hiccup.
defining attribute.
His defining attribute and his biggest hiccup is that he's just overweight.
Yeah. So that's always your least favorite character.
Yeah, because it's to me it's such
They
like
have to work their ways back from being fat to you.
It's
They have
such a
to walk
menial
back from
thing
that.
to me. Like it's such a waste of life to be fat.
You're skinny now.
Yes, I am. I'm skinny. I'm perfect.
All right, so
No.
chill out.
No, it's I don't know. It's
Tell me
I
how you drink people.
I drink people. No, it's the only person that ever challenged me about that too is like the only person that ever asked why do I think that or what's going on in my head that's caused that was that girl. I was like, oh wow, you're a fun person to talk to because no one ever challenged me about that. So I actually think about it, and it turns out I don't have an answer of why I hate fat people so much. But a part of my answer was that it, like I said, it's a waste of life. I think because like it's such a slim chance of you being alive in this time right now that being fat is such a fucking waste of it. I think.
Is that
And it's such a burden
So
on
is that like a
yourself
reflection
and
of how you
everything
feel
else.
about lazy people in general, and you just see fat people in the group of lazy people?
Yeah, but something about fat people that just gets my ire.
Because if anything, lazy people are because you can be fat and active. You just eat a lot,
Yeah.
and what you eat isn't good for you. Or you could just be pure lazy, do nothing. Like one guy we know, he's at home, just gaming right now, and he's gonna be doing that over and over again. And whenever I like find a shortfall in something he's doing, he's just like, I don't know, I just don't care. I'm like, God damn it, how do you suck at everything?
So he's careless then. If
Yeah,
he doesn't care
he's
about anything,
genuinely
he's
careless.
genuinely careless. But that I can ignore that more than I can ignore fat people. Because being fat, like it supersedes personality traits. It supersedes all those things.
So
Like,
does being lazy
you
to
can
that
be-
degree.
you can be active.
Like he
or
has to
lazy
go out of his way to not,
to
do
things,
anything.
Yeah.
So whenever you're like, why can't you like be a basic adult, like pay your taxes on time, understand how mortgages work, and he's just like, I just can't be bothered.
Put any ounce of effort into like taking care of things.
Yeah, and things are always like late for him, past due, or it's like the day it's due, he gets it done
Which
with
makes his
someone
own life
else's
harder.
assistance holding his hand.
Yeah.
But he's been able to do this so long, he just thinks it's acceptable.
It's a working strategy.
Yeah, and he's older than we are.
Yeah. He's not fat though, so.
That's a strange bias.
Not bad. I don't know. Yeah, it totally is a bias, and I don't understand it completely as to why it is. But
You had what I like to call a fifth wall experience. I was thinking about this earlier. Well, breaking the fourth wall. What is it?
like in plays and stuff,
Media. What is it when you're breaking the fourth wall?
when a character becomes self-aware or speaks to an audience that they shouldn't know is there.
Yes. So for like plays and for television is the example of why we call it the fourth wall.
Yeah,
Because that would be the screen of which
Yeah.
you're viewing it, right?
Left, right, back.
So what I like to call the fifth wall is your biases that you come to the viewing event with. It's the thing preventing you from taking whatever the message is the narrator or the writer has installed within that medium.
Mhm.
So you always come with your fifth wall. And really the stories that I think stay with us or make us think are able to scratch the surface of our fifth wall or at least like embrace it. It can embrace it for people. Like imagine you're a hardcore Nazi. And you see that one German film about the sniper, and he's like shooting all the Americans that they use in Inglourious Bastards. It's not scratching their fifth wall. If anything, it's just saying like, yes, you're doing the right thing. This is someone doing heroic by your standards. And that's an example of just everyone has a fifth wall. You're gonna have your biases. You're gonna have your things that you also approve of. And whenever an art form is able to contact that, it's probably gonna affect you.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd say I'll admit that me hating fat people just because they're fat is kind of shitty of me.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I'm aware of that.
Imagine you see a play, though, and you were able to see that play, and there was a character who hated fat people for no reason at all, and within that play, they challenge his ideas, and you're like, holy fuck!
I identify with that
Yes,
character.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They wrote it for me.
Well, no, that whole dialogue that they could potentially have in this very cut and dry scenario I've established just for you, any dialogue they could have that the writer could think of could really either get a dialogue started for you.
Yeah, it's almost like it's speaking directly to me and not the character.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what meta-narrative is
I like
about.
that.
It's speaking to your audience.
I read a book about someone who makes fat people.
Is it by like a dietitian?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think they want to insult
No. Lord of the Flies?
their target audience.
I'm running out of fat jokes.
I don't know. Lord of the Flies is fat?
They kill Piggy, who's the fat kid.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like the...
Yeah.
I mean, he's a fat and a kid? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Hey, both. Hey, kids and hey, fat people. No, not any fat kids. I don't know.
It's a strange phenomenon.
Yeah, it's like another mole or like an appendage. It just is. It's just a part of me that, I don't know.
I'm trying to think if I have any biases
Like a
like
psychological thing that just
that.
exists.
Like, I don't know. I just hate it.
Yeah.
I feel like me hating space is for a valid reason, but... Or people who
Okay,
want to...
first off,
I don't hate
it's
space.
not valid.
I hate people who want to go to space without fixing shit here. That's the whole thing. I'm not averted to us going to space. I'm just like... I feel like I'm the parent. I'm like, kids, you got to pick up your toys before you go to your friend's house. That's how I feel about space.
Clean your room before leaving.
Yes, that's it. That's my only thing.
Okay. I can understand
Some
that.
ownership about the planet we're currently on, because even if we don't want to go to space, and I say that for the people who don't, even if we don't want to go to space, we still have to live on the planet you leave. So
That's your problem.
you fucking
shit.
Earthling.
You think NASA made the mess? No.
They did, and I wanted to talk to you about that. Someone made a site called Stuff in Space. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah, the mess. Yeah, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, so it's a
Five
lot.
or
That's
half a
lot of
million
commercial.
objects.
There's a lot of commercial objects, though.
Yeah,
Not NASA.
yeah,
Commercial.
I agree.
That's not NASA.
NASA started this shit.
Do you blame
Well,
the
that's the
guy?
whole thing. It's just NASA didn't have any authority. They're like, hey, we're a group of people and we want to do a thing. And then they're like, oh, so any self-elected group of people can go up there and do this? And you could say the U.S. government said, we have to beat the Russians. But no. At the end of the day, the government is just a group of people who are self-elected, essentially, and want to do a thing.
Who do you blame for all of the evil acts that happened through colonization? The colonizers that performed the acts? Or the people who invented boats?
Both.
What?
Yeah, both.
How can they both?
Because just like the same, I'm trying to think of his name. I won't get it. The man who created dynamite
Huh?
at
Right,
one
yeah.
point, was
He said, I'm...
up for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
But also, like, today's standards probably could be tested for crimes against humanity. You have to take some ownership for just like we said with guns, the capability that you endowed to the public sector. The capability that you endowed to a private sector. And that's why whenever you have shitty politicians and a shitty government, you have to blame the citizens, too. You're like, I didn't make any of these decisions. My governor, my senator. I was like, yeah, but you're part of the system that puts them in place. And every moment that they remain in power, I'm not saying, like, yeah, you have to have a rebellion if you disagree. But I'm just saying there's, Socrates has a word for this. I can't remember. It's pretty much that compliance is part of everything that's going on. If you comply with it, you are somewhat enabling it on your level.
I guess I always err on the side of scientific progress, even if it comes with a cost of people not concerned with the progress of science, but using the results of science for whatever means they want.
Yeah.
I err on the side of the science itself. Because no matter what, people are going to be shitty. And you can either remain in the state we are, and people be shitty with what we have, or I think you're science.
Assigning too much autonomy to science. Science is simply a tool. That's like I'm very much pro hammer, and it's like no. You're pro people building stuff.
Yeah.
Or pro people destroying stuff. But we have to be careful when we say science, because on that same capability we have Cyclone B, which is what was used to gas Jews, and German scientists, or I think he wasn't German. He worked for the Germans, but he himself was not German. And the only reason, like, for them to keep him and his family and his loved ones alive, he had to do work for them. And Cyclone A had a scent, a specific odor that you were like, oh no, I have to get out of here, this is poisonous. They made him then take it out. So he's another one that could have been tried for crimes against humanity, and I think he was also a Nobel laureate. But he has to be held accountable for that too. But in the grand spectrum of things, he went on to do other great things in science because he got a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
at the same time, you can't disassociate it with like, well, scientific progress, because then you can make an argument for eugenics accidentally. That's still science. That's still saying, hey, we need to get down to the best genes possible, so we're gonna have to do some paired breedings for a while. I'm sorry if you don't get to date or you don't get to marry the person you wanted to. So it really comes down to people's responsibility for what's going on in a society, and science should never be blown up more than it's just the way we use we apply the scientific method of observation, at checking those documenting those facts, and then using those facts to make informed decisions to continue the cycle.
I see. So the example you give of a scientist being forced to do evil with their science.
Compliant, not forced.
Compliant.
He could have killed himself. He could, and I'm sure people are like, well, you would never kill yourself. I'm just saying, like, if we're really saying what were his options, if he was saying, I cannot allow this to happen, so it becomes, if you self-value your life, but if you were really, for, like, spectrum of human suffering, and I need to do the most ethical thing, I feel like that is a case specifically there for ethical suicide in his case. But there's no way he could have known how far these implications could have gone.
Yeah.
But still, if you're the one... Because you could easily say, it was like, well, they would have just gotten another guy that made it. It was like, but for all we know, the other guy might not have been capable of coming up with Cyclone B.
Right. It could have been a permanent delay or like a day delay.
A day delay.
There's no way to
you
tell.
don't know.
So I find... I measure that equally as I would, like, a hostage situation where someone puts a gun to someone's head and says, kill that person or I kill you. Mm-hmm. Right? I see that as no different.
It's the
capabilities
thinking.
So the capabilities of the individuals being held hostage, they're different capabilities. One person's a scientist who can make a chemical to kill thousands of people.
Mm-hmm. Millions.
And one person, millions of people. And one person has the capability of whatever weapon they give them or capability of just being a human being.
Yeah.
I don't see that differently, though. They're both being forced. They're both being made to make that choice.
Jordan
yes,
Peterson
one has a greater depth
of
consequences to it, but I can't measure the choice differently to me.
So Jordan Peterson has a really interesting thing he does in his class where, I don't know if he's currently teaching, I think he's just like going on tours and talking on YouTube, but when he did have a class in Canada, where he gave more facts that a lot of his students didn't know, that even like Nazi soldiers or people who had guards, he explained, hey, if you didn't do your job as a guard within a fascist country, then you and your loved ones would be just as much in line. So in a way, lots of German citizens were prisoners to the Nazis themselves because that was who was in power, and that kind of rule is absolute in that if you're not with us, you're against us.
Yep.
And they saw it that you're being compliant with the Allied forces, not the Axis.
Yeah. So in that case, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. But so that's an interesting thing there, because someone's just saying like, well, if I'm damned either way, that really should free you up to do the ethically right thing. But then self-preservation goes out the window, which is against human instinct.
Yeah.
So you're asking them to do the inhuman thing. But that's why we have such a great ideal of morality, that it's the moral thing, it's the right thing, because it's the more difficult one. You're asking someone to be selfless, which is easy when you're the one asking.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking exactly.
Yeah. So Jordan Peterson runs them through, and he makes a lot of them realize I probably would have been a Nazi too.
Yeah, like I can understand that.
Not a Nazi sympathizer, but a Nazi nonetheless.
I can understand that situation
as an American. Because I think a lot of people have that whenever we explain like warfare on a big level. Because drones are a big example. Like if you see footage of Syria on the news, you're like, oh man, how did it get this bad? And you would have to go through a long story. It's like, well, it's a little bit of us, a little bit of Russia, a little bit of NATO, a little bit of UN, and then their own civil war infighting between multiple factions. And then, but at some point you realize you being an American had somewhat of a role in that. It may be the tiniest, like you're very, very far away, and the level of legislation before that decision gets made, you may be able to diffuse that responsibility from yourself. But nonetheless, you are part of that. And every country we occupy as an American, and any other citizen of another country. Your country acting on proxy of you, unless it's a dictatorship.
You hold somewhere, to some degree, responsibility for every action that the government takes.
Yes.
Because you have the capability to vote, essentially.
It's more than that. It's not moral contract. It's the something contract that by
social contract.
Yeah, it's social contract, which I can't remember if it was Plato or Socrates that outlined that. I'm pretty sure it's Plato, but you sign a social contract by living, unless you like do a breakaway society and you live off the grid and you're like I don't pay taxes because you guys don't
I'm
do
only
anything for
responsible
me.
for me myself.
Mm-hmm. Like if you'd want to do that, like it's the Republic of Dave thing. I think that if you wanted to be in charge of your own ethical decisions and really say, but even someone's like, if you don't take action, I was like, but now you're asking me to what, blow up Congress? Like that now that's definitely an action, and then ethical debate there. So then you kind of end up in this stoic fashion. It's like either live in the woods alone and affect nothing. Who knows?
Huh.
And that's only if you believe in morality.
Yeah, and if everyone had that same sensibility, then
We
wouldn't have unethical decisions happen because everyone would care about the ethics of decisions.
Yeah.
Everyone would feel responsible for decisions that decision makers make.
Yep.
So they wouldn't allow people who wouldn't make a good decision in power.
I think rather
That's
than
what you're
teaching people algebra, it's probably better to teach people ethics and take a citizenship class. Because you may never do algebra as an adult, you'll probably vote.
Yeah, you'll probably be involved.
At some level. Or you'll resign not to because you don't understand either how important it is or think that you can't affect it at any level.
I don't know, I think just modern times, the average person is so manipulated by everything that like the education required to counteract that at this point would be like your entire
I don't
schooling.
think so. Because, I mean, we can see it. We're not fucking geniuses.
Speak for yourself. No, yeah, I guess a good point, yeah. I guess if you want to see it.
Number one is know that you're being manipulated, which anyone who flips through Fox News and then CNN, you're like, oh, I get it. Like,
well, there are people who like
Or
don't
like election
think
years.
that about it, who do watch CNN or Fox News or any other source.
So I had a long, involved conversation about tribalism, and this, damn it, we're going to circle back to it. Black Panther, my buddy who's Asian saw Black Panther, and he had his jimmies all rustled because he thought it was racist.
What?
Yeah, he thought it was racist. Only because Stan Lee is white. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are white. So he's like, of course a white old man in that time period would write an African civilization where they still have like tribes and they fight for their leader and they throw spears as weapons. I was like, but they're like a high sophisticated metal sphere, and the argument is that spear is better than using any other weapon because it's superior.
I got it. I understand his mindset. I can explain why he thinks that.
And then I'll explain why it's dog shit.
It is dog shit, and this is why.
Okay.
Those things by themselves, Africans throwing spears, or spears being part of African culture,
Yeah.
that's not racist. But
It happened at one point.
the way it's been
It
used,
still happens with the
way it's
Bushmen.
been used by racists,
Yeah.
has been racist. That image,
So you're saying
used
the
in a
intentions
racist
of that
intention
racist. Yeah.
by prior people
Yeah.
has been racist. So in reaction, people assume, oh, then that must be racist.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Mhm.
That by itself isn't racist.
Yeah.
The same way, like, identifying someone by
No,
like, what
I can give you another
ethnicity they're from
example.
isn't
The reason
racist.
why he was using that is it was a proxy excuse because he gets very upset because he's Asian. Whenever he sees an Asian guy in a movie and he has a katana, he's like, God damn it, we don't all carry katanas, and that's, like, given a choice of weapon, I would choose a gun. But the whole thing is, I think that's kind of his fifth wall right there. And he's just like, if they're so advanced people, why don't they have ray guns? Which is a stupid fucking sci-fi answer if you're a goddamn nerd. Because a ray gun, someone's like, why don't we have ray guns now? I'm like, number one, power source, very exhaustible. Number two, I'm assuming it's nuclear. If you want to carry around like a nuclear conduit in your pocket near your balls, like on a holster, and you'll just be sterile and have cancer. And it's kind of like he's in a tribe and he doesn't realize it, and that's why he was saying tribes are stupid, and he thought that tribalism is the number one thing that's retarded, and I mean that in the literal sense that it's against progress. It
slows things down.
It slows things down. He thought that tribes was the most retarded thing in human culture, or in the human race. And from my biology background, I immediately stepped in. I was like, look, tribes are what got us here.
Yeah, no.
It's what's left over from herding mentality.
It was essential a long time ago.
Animals still have herds.
Yeah.
And it's what allows zebras to escape lions. Like, think about that for a second. It's enough for something with no claws and fangs to escape something with claws and fangs, which is probably faster than it in a quick sprint. Same thing with cheetahs and other things.
Humanity has always, in some aspects, suffered from tribalism.
Yeah.
Because one tribe had to lose
Yeah.
for another to win. But
I
on
think
the
that's
same
the
hand,
process of humanity.
Another side of humanity won from tribalism.
Yeah.
So it's been that way forever.
My whole thing is eventually I think we're going to create a super tribe as a species. And he's just like, I'm not one thing. You can't put a label on me that would describe me. So everyone splitting off into tribes isn't fair, which I don't know. I have weird things I think on the psychology level. It was a conversation about something happening socially, but I think it was more about his personal beliefs. Maybe him as
sounds
an
like
Asian.
him more than anything else.
But that's the whole thing. That's his fifth wall. He's going to carry it with him everywhere.
Is it like it's being misrepresented?
But I was like, no, there is a label that defines you. It's called human. And he thought I was being a smartass. And I'm like, no, eventually we will get to a super tribe that we're just like Republican, Democrat. And then by those two fighting it out, we'll realize, oh, wait, this is dumb. There's another layer. Because he used the example, imagine you have someone who is a Steelers fan. And they're just like, yeah, Steelers. Fuck any other team. Fuck you if you're not a Steelers fan. Steelers for life. I was like, he's like, what do you hope for that guy? He's in the tribe. I was like, I hope one day he's going to get to a point where he's just like, you know what? I don't care if you're a Steelers fan or you're a Giants fan, as long as we both like football. And then from there, he'll have enough conversations with Giants fans or other football fans. He's like, you know what? I don't care if you're a football fan or a baseball fan. We can both share a sports bar. And then hashing out another, maybe this is going to take generations
layers
eventually.
And layers and layers.
Yeah, and you'll work your way up to it's just like, we're both citizens of a town, of a state, of a country, of a planet.
So the problem with that, though, is that does, so where we're at as humanity, it does go up and down, and that, like, how
The pendulum
deep
does
in the
swing,
layers,
but
yeah.
every time the variance from left to right, I think, is coming more towards the center, and eventually we'll get to a point where it's...
But humanity has never achieved the most superseding category of, like, we're all human, so...
No, but I
be
think
shitty.
we're getting closer than we were 500 years ago.
No, yeah, I think so,
But
too.
which, if you think of the length of, number one, written culture versus human culture, and the number
Very,
of people...
very
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, and between then, it's like, since the internet comes out, and immediately... Globalization happened, and then now people's ideas are starting to bounce more. And yeah, we hit a spot where like social media accounts came out, and then people were able to filter what kind of like echo rooms they were in. But now we're realizing how that's kind of dumb too.
It's kind of snapped back as well. Like,
yeah,
everyone thought that the internet and even just like telegrams between countries, or the airplane connecting different continents.
And now we're talking about hyperloops.
You would think that with the invention of those things, oh well, like human understanding is only going to explode. We're only going to these lines of communication are going to just make us stronger as a people, as a whole, as humanity. But I don't know if it's done that necessarily.
I just think it's more. It's just not at a noticeable level because, number one, we were born at a time in which it was already at such a good pace compared to 50 years ago.
That's very true. Yeah.
Number one, you're white. I am not. We're talking civilly. It's fine. At no point have you tried to...
I mean, it does bug the back of my head sometimes, but no, I'm still kidding.
Every now and then I'm just like texting you and just like, fucking cracker. And then it just doesn't go through.
2018, that's our word.
But so we can joke about that.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's insane.
That's
I come from a
progress in
town
itself.
where that was like enough. Like if I did that with a classmate growing up, we would be in a fight. I would expect to see him at the end of like the school day, and I was going to have to fight this kid for something that has really nothing to do with us at that point. Jim Crow had been done. It was how his fifth wall had developed because of his parents' fifth wall.
Yeah, learned behaviors.
Yeah, well, it's just like your parents kind of pass you down some bricks for your wall. And then later on, you can kind of analyze it, and you comparing walls to other people, and you're like, oh, these bricks are kind of stupid. I got to replace some of these.
Yeah.
Or you don't. And you just keep those, and you go through life with that wall, and you pass it down to someone else.
Yeah. So even when, though, I also have the same hypothesis that eventually, hopefully...
If we don't nuke ourselves.
If we don't end ourselves early, that there's going to be one global organization, one global identity.
You think it's
humans.
NASA? God damn it.
I do think it's NASA. I do think space travel is going to be the thing for that, but there's a negative thing as well. I think space travel will help unify that way, and actual space exploration. But as soon as there is...
Terraforming?
No. Terraforming is part of it, but colonization
Colonies,
on foreign planets,
Yeah.
then it's going to recreate that tribalism. It's going to start back over.
Yeah.
And we're going to have another, like, not civil war, but where another independence.
Yeah. That's
Where-
the plot to Gundam.
I think that's the most likely scenario because every single time this has happened in history,
I agree.
you look
That's
back
what
and
I'm
see
saying.
That cycle happen
We
over and
have
over.
to make Starfleet before we can travel to space. Because the whole point of Star Trek even being possible...
I think starting to attempt to travel to space is what helps kickstart Starfleet.
That's ridiculous.
Why would you create Starfleet without the intention of going to the stars?
No, I'm saying you have to create a Starfleet... Because before Starfleet happens, they have a really good UN, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Because where they're saying, we've done really well here, it is our humanitarian...
The next step.
Not only that, it's kind of silly for them to say humanitarian, because they were going to meet people who weren't human. But they're like, it's our humanitarian duty to go out and extend our way of life, if they're at a level to receive it, the Prime Directive, and then they're like, hey, everyone should have democracy and not have biases because of the way someone looks, and
question:
unless they're Wesley, unless they're Wesley,
does your species have sex with Rikers? Let me introduce you.
That's the secondary directive.
It's our way of life. Yeah. No, I genuinely think that there's a middle ground between both of our ideas. That
it's called
we can't go until we fix
work
this.
On the fucking
we
ground.
Should go. Don't bother fixing it. There's going to be a middle ground.
Well, no,
where you work on both.
You think of all the positive technology we've worked on our way to space, and you're like, look what space has already the space race has already given us. And no, I think that's what a moment in history in which our entire country was pushing for one effort, and we used a brain trust and. Yeah. Politicians listen to the smart people for once. People who, because at no point could the politicians argue their way to knowing how to build a rocket.
Yes,
it just came down to them having to trust intellectuals
to build the rocket.
And I would back that up further in saying it happened previously when we had a nuclear arms race, and for a while there, the president had to listen to Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer believed into some level of ethics, and some of that trickled into the White House and people around it, and then that's why we had XCOM later in the Cold War, which XCOM probably stopped us from having a nuclear fallout.
So your position is that anything
the UN is more important than
with that amount of resources and dedication put to it can be solved. The same way that space race, that amount of resources and dedication towards a problem of space travel or landing on the moon was solved.
Yeah, I think that was just one event that happened.
Yeah. One example of potential, the human potential.
Yes.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Which I'm saying, like, if a comet were to come... I'm not saying close your eyes to space. We definitely need to watch out for space debris when we're putting more shit up there.
I have this, like, glorious view of, like, space amazes me. I love space. And you go, we're going to watch out for space.
Well,
watch out.
Well, I'm just saying that at any point, that just lets you know how tiny you are in the universe.
Yeah.
And that all it takes... Because we even know that the moon's been collided with once, and that's why it's the size it is.
Loads of times.
I know, because that's all the creators are like, it's fucking collision. And our atmosphere just protects us from that happening. And our gravity, and other stuff. Because it'll burn up. I get that. So I'm just saying, like, number one, let's make sure that atmosphere has everything it needs to do its job.
Good point. Great point.
I say we go ahead and we make an honorary member of the, whatever the White House family is, the atmosphere is included. He's the new Beau.
It's our Department of Defense deserves some atmosphere. It should be an element of that as well.
Sasha?
Malia?
And,
atmosphere?
The atmosphere?
Ozone?
All good fronts. Everyone agrees at dinner time. Malia does her homework, and the atmosphere lets us all fucking survive.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So that's why I'm more about being a steward of the thing that keeps you alive. In every scenario. Like,
see, I just want the escape plan. I want that. Give me that.
So if there's
I don't trust humanity.
Yeah.
It's going to burn it down.
To bring this metaphor home, if you and I are on the International Space Station, and let's say we have an observation window by us. I don't give a shit what the actual space station looks like. I know you have, like, the blueprints in your head, and you look at them every night, and you pray to them. But I'm just saying...
There are observation windows.
Okay, we're saying we're by a really big one.
Ooh, okay.
I know, but this is for the sake of the metaphor. Okay. We're by a really big one. Okay. Way too big. You're like, what the fuck were these structural engineers thinking? And they were like, look at this view. That's what they were thinking. So
cool.
We have a large observation window, and you are arguing with a Russian and a Chinese person on the International Space Station, and you're in wow and amazement that you're here, number one, and number two, you're in space. Mm-hmm. And the Russian starts, like, taking a wrench and arguing with the Chinese guy, and he's about to, like, hit the observation window. You're probably going to be looking for an escape pod. I'm probably going to be like, Please
the
leave
Russian.
that window alone.
Stop the
Yeah,
Russian.
stop the Russian or leave the window alone. That's my only thing. Because why? I'm a steward of the thing that keeps me alive. That's it. I don't give a fuck about space.
That's it.
Don't kill me right now.
That's a bad example. I'm already where I want to be. I have escaped. I've already escaped.
You're already
I
there.
wouldn't stop the window because I'm already there.
You just see the space station is your escape pod.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I'm not down there. I'm good. I'm cool. Nuclear war? Go for it. Have I got rations for enough? Let's do it.
So do we have anything for our closeout?
Don't hit that window. That's my escape plan. Don't you hit that shit. I live here now. You've done your 6 years. You can come back. 6 more.
Retort.
Not a tour, sir. We live there. Go around.
Do I have any vacation days? Yeah, put that all towards me staying here.
Every day's vacation here. I'm going around on a tour of the planet. Going around, touring constantly.
I don't know how to end this.
Push the button.